welcome to Penned, the Writer's Utopia. How y'all doing tonight? Listen, I'm super excited about my guest tonight, and I hope you will be too. Before we get there, though, you know what to do. Make sure that you like, share, and be sure to subscribe, okay? And then, guess what? Join the conversation in the comments. We want to hear from you. If you have questions for us tonight, we want to hear them. But without further ado, I am super excited to host tonight. She is one of my favorite people. She is a business writer, and she's the author of Life Light as well as the new book, Time to Prioritize Yourself. She is none other than Ayana Thomas. Welcome, Ayana.
Thank you so much for having me. Hey, friend, how are you?
I'm good. Listen, I have been so excited for this day. I was like, this is going to be a fantastic conversation because we have so many different areas that we can go into as writers, and I cannot wait. But before we get started, let me do the right thing and say, how you been doing, girl?
Girl, hanging in there. I'm hanging. I think we're all doing the best we can between virtual school and work and just all the things that
Yes.
we have going on. The one thing that I do appreciate about the space that we're in is the requirement to be still and to pay
Yes.
attention to the things around you. And so, even though it's a little bit inconvenient and a lot of things have changed, I'm certainly grateful for that opportunity and to make connections like this because you never know. We might have been doing something completely different on this day if it weren't for the
Exactly.
pandemic, but
If
we're
it
still
wasn't for the
here.
pain. Yes. Listen, I won't tell no lies. Pinned was birthed during the pandemic. So like the whole idea and concept came about during the pandemic. So absolutely, I might not have thought of this. I might have been going on about my normal running around here like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to get this, that, and the fifth done. But yes, the time to be still, that is key right there. That time to be still and listen and pay attention. That's exactly what this is provided for us. And not to mention, let's talk about you and your book. You actually wrote a book doing this whole thing and published it and released
Yeah.
it. So that's exciting all within itself. So tell us a little bit, because I do want to talk about that project before we go any further. Tell us a little bit about Time's Up, Prioritize Yourself Now.
So I'm going to read the first line. So the first line says, "As I am typing this, there is no time in my schedule to write this book." Do you see the irony? And so the whole point of Time's Up is we're all busy. We're all in pre-pandemic, during pandemic. I expect
Yes.
post-pandemic, it'll be the same. We're into this busyness of life, and
Yes.
the idea came from the fact that none of us have time to really prioritize our self-care.
Right.
And we want to do it. We have good intentions. You might say to yourself, this week I'm going to do this, and this for myself. And then two or three things pop up, or your friend calls and asks for help moving, or they need you to do something, and
Yes.
it gets away from you. And so, and not just for women, but for everybody, men, women,
Yes.
families, we all need this. And so, Time's Up it's a 52-week self-care strategy. Every week I tell you what to do, so you don't have to worry about think about what to do. Just like you will hire a trainer at the gym to tell you which exercises to do in what sequence, that's how we work through self-care. So it's not a real heavy read. It's more of a work through every week. This is something I can do, almost like a devotional, a self-care devotional.
Wait a minute, y'all. Did you hear that? Wait a minute. She didn't just write a book. She gave you 52 weeks of instructions on how to take care of yourself, just in case you're too mentally occupied, right? Because that is truth. That is truth all day long. There are so many great intentions that I have, but honey, let me tell you, if I don't write it down, if I don't put a memo in my phone somewhere, the odds are I'm going to forget it after a while. So, And yes, that does include my self care sometimes because something else will pull you. But 52 weeks and I don't have to think about it. All I gotta do is read the book and it's gonna say this week focus on. Y'all better go grab that book.
Yep.
Y'all better go grab that book. Now, this is like what is that called? Your sophomore book, right?
Yes.
Tell us about your first book, Light
Well,
Life.
life light
Life
is.
Light.
It's okay. I messed it up too. Life light is really a book in experiential learning. And so what I realized, I guess growing up, you know what I mean. You're always growing up. We're always maturing and developing. But I think I went through not a midlife crisis, but a transitional point in my life where I realized that there were some things that if people had told me, there were some lessons that if someone had just told me or given me some instruction, kind of like that old wisdom. If somebody would have just sat me down and said, "Baby, this is how you want to handle this," or "This is what I
Listen.
learned from this experience," I think I could have navigated things a little bit more strategically in life. And so, Life Light is a collection of those lessons, a collection of realizations that I had where I'm sharing again in an instructional way to help people make better decisions. So when it comes to knowing your worth, you know what I mean? If I knew
Yes.
how to charge my worth, what I was worth, I would. It's so much free labor I gave away trying to be nice to people and be friends with people. If I would have thought about how much I was worth and really had an idea of that, I would have approached things a little bit differently. And so it's everything from buying a house, thinking about raising children and buying a house. And in that particular chapter, I liken parenting to getting McDonald's 24-hour breakfast. If you go after 10:30, breakfast
Right.
is a little stale. You may
Right.
not get the fresh hash browns, but sometimes parenting is like that. And
Yeah.
so talking through some of those realities, I cover peace, I talk about love and grace, and so just lessons, just a variety of different lessons that I've learned. Again, to try to help people make better decisions, to think differently about things. I cover trauma. It kind of runs the whole gamut.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
love that because this is like that moment where people often ask you if you could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you say?
Hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm like you. I could write a book about that because there are so many things that you're like, if somebody had told me, if I knew then what I know now, and I promise you, I would have done some things differently. But
Oh
that's
yeah.
amazing because guess what? The times don't really change. The same thing we went through then, there, believe me, there is somebody going through that right now and could use that advice. Even though that was your book, what, a year or so ago?
Hmm.
Yeah, even though it was then, there's somebody still today that can benefit from that wisdom and knowledge. Always. It's just
Absolutely.
cycles. Yes. So
Yeah.
that's amazing, amazing. Look, she's all about helping uplift y'all. So I would definitely ask, what is your inspiration? I kind of feel like I know, but I'm gonna ask anyway. So what is some of your inspiration behind the work that you, I know you want to help people and some is probably your personal story, but what is really that big why that keeps you going with writing the personal development books?
Yeah. So I think I've tapped into my purpose. I think I'm close. And really my goal in life is to help people become their best self. And so whether that's
Yes.
professionally, personally, that's really the crux of the work that I do. And with Liberty, and in workshops and things like that, is just trying to focus on helping people get to the core of who they really are so that they can, perform at their highest
Yeah.
potential.
Right.
But in terms of the writing piece, I kind of stumbled upon writing. A lot of people aspire to be authors. It was never an aspiration for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been writing resumes and doing, business writing for a long time, but I had never ever thought about it, in the capacity of being an author. And what happened was I was teaching a lesson. So I'm a teacher by vocation. And so I was teaching a lesson and I couldn't figure out how to articulate a particular lesson with the scripture. And that
Okay.
pushed me to do some more studying and some more digging and to develop my understanding about a particular area. And once I coupled the scripture with the additional information I had, I'm like, oh my God, I have to share this with people. And so I just started writing because I felt like if I wrote it down, I could get it to more people and it could be more
Right.
impactful. And so that was really how I stumbled upon writing and became an author was, I felt like these were lessons that people needed to get. And there's only one of me, so I can only reach so many people. So if I can get the book out, and more people buy the book and share the book, then more people can be helped. So that was really the goal of writing.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps giving. It's the
Yeah.
gift that keeps giving for sure.
Yeah.
So I am going to tap into the business writing just a little bit, but you and I have had some great conversations in our times past and chatting, and you have a unique way of getting your books written. What
Yeah.
is one of your favorite ways of making sure that when you don't have time to write, you still write?
Yeah. So with Lifeline, I shut myself in a room for 15 hours, and I just I had to bang it out. That was the only way to get it done. And same thing, like a lot of people. I have been to authors workshops. I've talked to so many people who are aspiring authors. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to you sitting down and getting it done, whether you dictate it, to your phone or to some other app or whatever. You just got to get it done. So in both cases, with Lifelight and with Times Up, I just had to get to a point where I was like, look, we don't schedule no meetings, don't take no calls, and just go into a zone and really work through it. And in both cases, I was able to knock it out. The first time it took 15 hours to finish. I had been writing on it for a year or so, and then it took me 15 hours to finish. With
Right.
Times Up, it didn't take me quite as long, but I still had to get into that mindset of like, shut everybody out. It's never gonna happen if you don't do this. So you got to sit down and just
If you
focus.
don't do it. Yeah, one of my favorite things is I remember when you came on Be Third Power with Sherry and I. One of the things you said to me when we were talking about writing, you was like, "Girl, you better go use Google Docs and start talking it out." And I was like, "I never thought of that." And it's so funny because I'm so used to doing. I don't want to necessarily call it the old school way because I think it's just the way. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
one of the main ways. But I'm so used to setting down and writing it out, whether it's on pen and paper. Like if I tell the truth, my daily agenda is not kept on a phone. It is kept in a little notebook that I set and write out every day what I need to accomplish because that's just how I prefer to write. And even with writing, books and creative works, I'm just used to sitting at the computer. So the thought that you gave me of sitting down and dictating my book was like, maybe it's time I try something new because how else am I going to get it done otherwise? If I'm not just sitting down, hammering it out, like you said, this is just another alternative where I'm like sitting down and writing, but without writing.
Yeah,
Because
but
some,
you're a tactile learner. So you by writing, you like to touch it, you like to feel it. It helps you to process the information, and that's fine. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But think about laying back on your couch with your feet up and then dictating your book, and I think that puts you in a whole different headspace because you can block out the things that are going on, and you can in. I have dictated a 3 to 6 page paper in like 20 to 30 minutes, and so when you think about the other thing is when you are dictating, you talk naturally the way that you would be
yes,
speaking. And when you're writing, you're critiquing what you're saying as you're looking at the
yes.
words. And so you're backing it up and bringing it forward. So
Listen.
dictating, it just comes out. It's just the flow is natural.
And that's something that I always tell my writers that I'm coaching. I'm like, don't self edit because it will defeat you every time. You go back and if you keep going back and writing, rereading every word that you write, you will not get it done. And you're right. The people get hung up on that all the time. And even though I tell people not to do it, if I tell the truth, even though it's on recording, if I tell the
It's just you and
truth,
me. It's just you and me. Just tell me.
friend, listen, if I tell the truth, I still do that sometimes. I tell them not to do it and I catch myself doing it all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh wait, let me go back. That's not what I meant. And I'm like, just get it out. Just
Yeah.
get it out.
Perfectionism is our biggest enemy. It's my biggest enemy.
Yes,
Perfectionism is my
yes.
biggest enemy. Yep,
I
I get
always
it.
say it is the enemy of progress. Winston Churchill said it best. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yep.
Now, what I have been amazed to talk to you about, because we've talked to authors on here, which is fantastic, but I get to highlight another writing skill of yours that you do oh so well and oh so often, and that is business writing.
Yes.
You are like the queen of, let me get with you on your resume and let's hammer this thing out. Oh, you need a cover letter? Let's do that. Oh, you need some verbiage to describe your business? I got you. Let's go. Here's your business writer, y'all. So all of y'all that are out there listening that need help with your resumes, I know we're in a pandemic and some people are hiring and some people are not. But baby, get your stuff in order, because at some point somebody gonna need to hire you and you want to be
Yes.
ready. And my girl Ayana is gonna help you with that.
Or
So
you might
how
be
did
launching a business and you need a business
Hello.
plan. Yes.
Hello. I'm telling you, all your entrepreneurs, some of y'all are pivoting right now. That's a great point. Some of you guys have had to pivot and you need to write your business plan. And you look at, I gave somebody, sent somebody a business plan template and they said, you want me to do what with this? And I said, listen, this is part of what you do, your plan that you're mapping out. But if you that person that says, what do you want me to do with this? Guess what you do? You go find a yarn and let her help you. But tell us, how did you get into business writing?
Yeah, so I worked for 4 years as a corporate recruiter, and as a result of my experience in recruiting, I came across people all the time who had the skills and the ability to do the job, but their resumes were not up to par, right?
Yeah.
And even in my work regularly now, I meet people all the time who are extremely gifted, very accomplished professionals, executives who do amazing things to change the world every day, and their resume just does not it's not in alignment with who they are. So they show up
Right.
in a fancy suit, looking all good and everything, and they put their resume on the table, and the people are like, "What is this? Like what is this?" Um,
Right.
and so, again, as a means of helping people, when I launched Liberty, I tried to really think about what are all the things that I would want to do to help people, because that's the goal of Liberty, is to build people to pursue power living. And and so the resume piece is one of them, because really I have a heart for the community, our community,
Yes.
and I feel like the accessibility to services like the ones that we provide are not often spoke of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might get in a workforce development program and you might find someone who's willing to help you get your stuff up to up to par, but just generally speaking, there's not a lot of what I do in our community. um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, as a means of giving back, as a means of trying to help people again be their best self. I have been so privileged and fortunate to work with people all over the world. I had clients in Africa and Asia, who
Yes.
are just trying to find somebody to help them with their resume. And so it's a common thing that we all need. And a lot of time it doesn't come up until you're looking for a job, or until you're put in a position where you have to look for a job. And so, yeah, it's just something that I love to do. I call myself the queen of finesse. I love words. And so I was looking up Utopia so I could understand where I was coming to. I'm at the writer's Utopia, and it's the ideal perfection, right?
Yes.
So that's how I approach my work. Is I love words, so I love being able to help people express who they are, what they want to do, reach their goals through words. It's very nerdy, right? Only
Yeah.
authors and writers understand that. But I think it's like my best trait. So
Listen, you talking about, you looked it up. It came to me as an idea to use Utopia, and I was like, let me go look that up to see what that means. Because you're right, that's what we do. What are some of the major, when you're looking at people's resumes, because we want to make sure we're giving helpful tips to help people, right? So, what are some of the major things or major errors that you see people making when it comes to their resumes and or cover letters?
yeah, so I would say the two main things that I think people do in error most is the formatting is off. And so, we don't really think, we think if we put it, because I've been a vice president, if I put my experience on a resume, that's enough, right? We're assuming people want to read what we have to say. And that's
Right.
the case. Recruiters, hiring managers have a very limited amount of time to look from one resume to the next. So it's got to be appealing. It's got to be visually and aesthetically pleasing. And so formatting is the first thing. So making sure all of your bullet points are lined up in the same way, you use the same, everything is consistent, same font size. I've seen like 5 or 6 different fonts, or now people are into using a splash of color, so it'll have two or three different colors on it, and people don't recognize, like, some people are colorblind and they can't read. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so just taking those things into consideration when you're formatting your resume. Yeah, it's cute, but who's gonna read it, right? The
Right.
resume read at the end of the day, that's the goal. Um,
Right.
and so I would say formatting is number one. Number two is saying way too much, right? Again, where so many people are going to read what we've written, and a lot of times they're not. So you have to say less, only say what you absolutely need to say, whether it's in the resume or the cover letter. But then also make sure that the things that need to be said most are prioritized in the document. So whether that's moving it to the top, or just shifting the bullets around so that they see what they need to see first, making sure that they see what they need to see as opposed to expecting them to read. Nobody want to read 20 bullets worth of information.
No.
And the one little thing that I need to see is at the at
At
the
the very bottom. Yeah. No,
so,
you're
so those are those are the two things.
you're absolutely right. And that was one thing that I was taught about with resumes is when you look at the job description, look at your experience and make sure that you put those things that match what they're looking for at the top. So
Hmm.
whatever experience that is, put that at the top of your description. Rather than at, like you said, burying it at the bottom. Because if you have 20 bullet points, they very well may get to bullet point number 5 and be like, "I'm done," and then they never know that you have that experience.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the difference between some people use the bullet points to quickly say, I do this, 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 and some people decide to go with just the summary
Hmm.
of their experience? Which is there one that's better than the other? Is it a time to use one versus the other? Like, what's your take on those two?
It's really subjective. I don't think that there's a right answer. I think the most important thing to do is to say what is most important first. So I have seen people write a short two-sentence summary at the very top to outline their experience. And as long as you've said the things that are most important and you've used the language that really conveys your experience, I think having that little short. Now I'm specifically saying short. The little paragraph that comes before the bullet shouldn't be no more than two sentences, but you still want to make sure that you outline the rest of your experience in bullet form. I don't think that the paragraphs alone are effective because everything is hidden, right? So
Yes.
when you have bullets, you can leave a keyword at the end, start a sentence with the keyword, and it'll pull somebody's eye to what you're saying. When everything is kind of mushed up together, they have to work too hard to do that, and people don't read. People are not going to take the time to read. So I would say, if you want to do the one or two sentence summary before your bullets, fine. If you really feel like you have to, but the bullets
Yeah.
are acceptable by themselves.
Awesome sauce. So look, I'm tapping into all your knowledge tonight because I
I'm
feel
so
like
happy to
somebody's
be here. I should have bought me a drink to Utopia, a little beach chair or something, some sand.
listen. Yes, you have to come on sip and chat so we can sip and chat about this. Yes. Um, so another thing that I find curious and I wonder, how people are faring with it is so you have is it good to put your references on your resume or no? Is that time gone out the window?
No, so this references, I always tell people to only submit references when requested. One, so you can even take the line off the resume that says references available upon request. We all know that if you want the job and I ask you for your references, you're
You
going to
go give
provide
me
them.
your
So you can
references.
take that line off the resume. You don't even have to say that. But I think in terms of providing information up front, you shouldn't, because you want to provide references according to who is going to give you um, the best recommendations, the best
Yes.
words of experience. And so, like, I had a conversation with somebody, and they were like, "You mean to tell me I don't have to use my most previous boss as my references?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not.
No.
Never use the boss as a reference unless it's required." Um,
Yeah.
because the people who got my back, those are the ones who are going to say the good things about me. Those are the ones I want to include.
Yes.
So you want to be intentional about who you include as references, and only include the ones that you know are going to say good things.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes I've seen so many people get frustrated and stuck in their positions because they know that they're looking for a job for a reason, right? But then they keep putting their current supervisors on their resume as their reference, or keep submitting their current supervisors as their reference. And when you call, which I don't understand the supervisor's point of view, like to a degree, I get that you want to be honest. You know, you do want to be honest, but not so honest to the point that if they giving you problems, like wouldn't you want the exchange? Because maybe y'all just not a good fit. Why you gonna keep them there? Keep giving a bad reference to make them stay with
Because
you?
misery loves company. I don't want you to do better than me, and so no, I'm not going to help you. But that's exactly why. That's why you should not provide any information, not just references, but don't disclose that you're pregnant or that you have an ill loved one, or don't disclose any unnecessary information unless you are asked. A lot of times people,
Yes.
oh well, I have this situation, I got laid off from this job, and or I got terminated from a job, and do I tell them up front? No, get the job,
No.
and then
Right.
if they
And then
ask you, then you tell them. But don't shoot yourself in the foot before you get there.
right, exactly, exactly. So I know our time. I'm telling you, and time flies when we're having great conversation. But before we wrap up, is there what? No, not even is there. Give me one good golden piece of nugget that you would like to leave for our viewers today, whether it's for writing a book, or if you have one for writing a book, and if you have one for business writing. What is one good nugget that you would like to leave them with today?
I would just say do it. Whatever it is, whatever your it might be, you know what I mean? We all have something, we all may have some things, a list of things
Yes.
to accomplish. Last year was tough, but we survived, right? And because
Yes.
we know that we can survive anything. And so I would say whatever it is, whatever your it is, work at it. Get your plan together. Surround yourself with people who can help you get to where you need to go to. Ask for help. There's so many available resources out there, especially now. All these free trainings online, free on
Yes.
all these different places. You can get the information if you really want it. Just do it.
Just do it. That's it. Right there. Just do it. And you know what? I just encouraged somebody with that same word earlier today, because I said sometimes we get in our own way because we're waiting for all these perfect opportunities and these perfect moments to do something. And at the end of the day, if you never get up and do it, it's never going to be a perfect time. Like,
Yeah.
especially when you're moving fluidly in your purpose or towards your purpose and your goals, it's never going to be a perfect time. It's going to be always get life always gives you a million reasons why not to do something, right? But
Yeah.
when you know that you know that this is something you need to be doing, then you have to override those million reasons and find the one big reason to do it, and just do it.
Just
You
do
know,
it.
just do it. I said, like my favorite quote from Dr. Martin Luther King is, take the first step in faith even when you can't see the rest of the staircase.
Yeah, that's it.
Sometimes not going to see the whole pathway before, but the path will begin to illuminate more and more as you keep walking, but it will never light up if
Right.
you don't take the first step and do it. So I love your nugget tonight because it is so on point. This is the time. It's January, y'all. Yep, I just
It's
dated this
almost
episode, but that's
February.
okay. You're right. It's the end of January. Excuse me. And everyone, most people, I ain't gonna say everyone, most people reset their visions for the year, right? And all you got to do is just do it. That's how you accomplish your intentions, your goals, the things that you set to get done, your vision for this year. You have to start by just doing it. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. There will never be one. Just start, and the rest will work itself out. That's it. So it has been amazing chatting with you tonight, Ayana.
Thank you so much for having
Amazing.
me. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for the opportunity to catch up first, but more importantly, I'm grateful for you making this space for me. So thank you so much. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing. I saw your
Thank
different
you.
shows. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. That's part of just the do it. I've realized that this is my purpose. This is my way of sharing. Each platform offers something different, but I couldn't keep making excuses anymore. I had to do what I was supposed to do. Like now I'm inspiring other creatives, which is what I love to do. So thank you so much for being here. I'm humble because you joined me. And so I'm grateful. But anyway, we can sit up here and talk about how proud we are of each other because she's doing just as many amazing things as I am. But I'm so grateful for you, Ayana. Make sure you guys reach out to her. How can people get in contact with you before we go if they're interested in obtaining your services?
So all of my stuff is accessible on my website, ayanathomas.com, but you can get me on Facebook or Instagram. You can email me. However, it's so many ways to reach me, but everything you can get to is on ayanathomas.com, AYANA Thomas.com.
There you go. If you're looking for a job and you need some help, go and talk to my girl, the business writer, Ayana over at Liberty Rights. Get that help you need so you can get that job you need and you can go on and start moving towards that intention and that goal. All right. Well, I thank you so much again. And before we go, we're going to give you a quick one more reminder of time's up. Prioritize yourself.
There is no better time than the present to take care of yourself. Yes, you matter. Do yourself a favor. Pick up a copy of my new book, Time's Up, Prioritize Yourself Now. It's available in all major retail and Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can even get it on my website, ayanathomas.com. Just one N, AYANA Thomas.com. Listen, Time's Up was written for the busy man, woman, person who is on the go constantly. And even if you're at home working and you're Zooming all day long, you're still on the go, right? Who has time to think about how to care for themselves? None of us do. Time's Up is the solution for that. It'll give you everything you need to make sure you secure your time for your self-care every week. Time's Up, available now on all major retail.
You heard it from my girl Ayana herself. Go on, she's on all major retails. Get your copy of Time's Up, Prioritize Yourself. Listen, she told you she's giving you 52 weeks of instruction on how to take care of yourself. Make sure you do that. Again, I'm so grateful to her for joining me tonight. I hope you've enjoyed her as much as I have. I love talking to Ayana. She's a blessed joy for real. But as always, our time flies when we're having fun. Remember, the key to writing is doing what? Just that, writing. All right? Go on, get your creative work out. Don't you take that story to the grave. And I will see you all next week. This has been Penn, the Writer's Utopia. Bye now.